Well, that's the right approach to it, and I think that's really cool to hear that experience. I mean that one of the things that we like to notice is people like yourself in the academy who just very quickly are putting the information into action, and it sounds like it worked out great for you. So definitely commend you on that, and that's awesome. Now, you mentioned that now you've kind of gotten into the social media thing and consulting on businesses. Were you worried about that taking over? Because it sounds like you like to have a certain amount of flexibility, and certainly you can consult or be a knowledge worker from anywhere in the world. But were you worried about the scalability of being kind of a dollars for hours thing, or did you have a bigger scope of where you wanted to take that, or how have you dealt with some of the confinements that can come with the consulting type business?
Yeah, I was worried about that at first because I really wanted to have a business model where I could work less instead of more. So what I did is I kind of took the idea of a virtual assistant, and I really read into it a lot and decided to hire a few, test them out, keep the very good ones, and instead of kind of sitting down with the company and consulting them, I would say, here's your problem, this is how I can solve it. I can either spend a few days telling your employees how to do it, or for this price, you can just hand over all your social media stuff to me. I'll completely take care of it. We'll set you up and show you how to tweet and Facebook, but we'll take care of everything else, and then we'll provide you metrics and all this other stuff. And I only had to really make the sales, and then I had set up systems myself of how everything was supposed to be done, all the optimization and the monthly metrics, and then I would just turn over each account to virtual assistants who would get it done. So I didn't have to spend an inordinate amount of time face-to-face consulting.
So you're just spending your time on so the VAs take a lot of the technical type work, and even the management of many things is taken care of by someone else, and we'll talk about that some more later because I know I've chatted with you about that. But so what are the things that you spend your time on right now, or that you enjoy most spending your time in the business?
I enjoy most researching new social media platforms that are coming out, finding out like new widgets, and I read Mashable all the time. I like finding out stuff like that and figuring it out how I can implement it from a business point of view to give actual ROI to my clients. And then my second thing is I just love networking, whether it's online or offline, and building relationships that lead into sales. That's my favorite thing to do. So I've figured out a way to kind of take all the work that I didn't like and have my employees do that, or my virtual assistants, I guess. And then I get left with the stuff that I actually really enjoy.
Awesome. And would you say that it's the vast majority of your time you are able to spend on those things that you enjoy most?
Yeah, absolutely. The time that I work, like my work hours, I spend it on the stuff that I do best and that I enjoy. And then the rest of the time, honestly, I just spend studying and learning, because it's kind of the bigger businesses that I compete with don't really keep up to date like I do. So the most important job for me to do is to constantly make sure that we're kind of always implementing new ideas for our clients so they stay happy, and we obviously provide the best service. And then I've been able to just leave everything else up to the VAs. They kind of handle it, and they're really good at it as long as you give them a system sheet, like this is exactly how it needs to work.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is we ask quite often to each other and just ourselves in business that same thing. What things do I actually want to be working on? We just had this conversation again yesterday. We got it down to what are the 3 things, each of us would want to do if that's all we had to do. And, constantly thinking that stuff. I mean, and again, that's another thing internet business offers, the possibility not to have to do things you don't want to do.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, and the possibility to change course really fast, which I love.
Yeah,
definitely. And clearly you did. I mean, It's pretty amazing how quickly you've arrived at that, because I know it takes people a long time to sometimes to realize what it is that they most want to do in their business, and to get to the point where they're just focusing on those things. And the speed at which you jumped into those things is very cool. And we're going to talk more a little bit later in the Academy portion of this interview, some of the things that you are doing with your VAs to make that all possible, so that you are just concentrating on the things that you like most. But what I want to point out is it's clear you're spending your time, and this is where most entrepreneurs of our style should be spending their time, is on innovating new ideas and doing research so that we can offer the best and better value to our customers, and then on doing marketing and sales strategy. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be all the implementation, because obviously a lot of implementation of marketing can be outsourced. But coming up with, and it sounds like you like to be in there talking to the business people, networking, finding the new clients. And if you enjoy that, and that's a unique ability you have, then that's certainly something you should focus on, which is awesome that you are. So a lot of great lessons to be learned there. Now, so the next question we want to ask is about, we often like to ask about the fears that people face along the way, because there are definitely fears that crop up in an entrepreneur's journey. And it sounds like in a lot of respects you've been pretty fearless, but I'm sure there are some things you've had to deal with in overcoming. So what are some of those fears that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
What I faced mostly was just, pretty much the run-of-the-mill fear of failure. But I realized it's kind of nice starting from nothing. Like when you get done with school, you're kind of like a blank slate. So I was like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, if I completely fail, I'll have to bartend for a little while until I have my next business idea, which I hated. So it was a really good motivator not to.
Yeah.
And I also noticed that when you set yourself up so failure isn't an option, it really helps. Like, there's a certain amount of stress and, like, I really have to do this that pushes people. I notice when people have a job to fall back on, when they're a little more cushy, it's harder for them to become entrepreneurs. But when you're like me and you're like, I'm going to not only look like a total failure, but I just got done with school, I have to do something with my life. There's a amount of strain that really helped me get going, because I was just like, every day I woke up, I would repeat to myself the amount of money I wanted to make a month, and I would repeat to myself, the time limit, and pretty much just, you're going to do this. Like, give myself a pep talk every single day. And finally it got to the point where, like, it's like I convinced my mind, and once I convinced my mind that I absolutely 100% was going to do it, it was easy, or easier.
Yeah, I like that. So was that just a part of your morning routine to repeat those things and visualize those things, or where did that idea come up from?
It came from Think and Grow Rich, actually. And it's a part of my morning routine. It's like almost obsessive compulsive. When I'm bored, I write down my goals on like napkins and slips of paper waiting for somebody. I use them as my passwords on everything on my computer. I'll use a different password for each goal, or a different goal for each password. And when I wake up and when I go to bed, I kind of tell myself, imagine where I want to be in 6 months and where I want to be in a year. That's about as far ahead as I go. And just like, it's like telling yourself, I got to go to the grocery store today. I got to go to the grocery store today. If you tell yourself that enough, your mind is going to remember and, direct you to the grocery store when you're out driving around. It's like if you tell your brain enough where you want to go exactly, it really does work. Your mind kicks in for you even when you're not thinking about it. Like subconsciously, it sets stuff up.
I like that password idea. That's one I haven't heard. I mean, of course, we hear a lot about putting the stickies on the mirror or creating your success collage. And I've heard the things like, when you wake up in the morning or when you're going to bed at night, visualize things. But like writing it down on a napkin when you're waiting for your bill at the restaurant, or